Today we've got the brand new updated Outcast 4S on the bench, and they've made some changes to this that might make this the best big 1/10 scale basher you can get. Let's take a closer look. First thing you'll notice is the new colorways they have for the body. I chose the silver. I think it looks really, really nice in this color. Other than colors, they haven't made any updates to the body. I know this body's fairly weak, so we're gonna be reinforcing it with this top tubs kit. Never tried this before, really curious to see how it works out. Underneath the body is where things get really interesting though. Starting from the front, they've added these protectors around the CVDs. This is designed to prevent debris from getting between the CVD and the chassis. If that happens, it can damage the CVD. Moving over from there, you can see they've updated the chassis protectors. These are a little bit bigger. We'll have to see how well that keeps debris out of the chassis. Behind that, they've got this new battery tray setup with these new beefier supports, one of which actually contains the wires. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this. We'll have to see how it fits with batteries here in a bit. Behind that is the thing that people are gonna be the most excited about, and that is the inclusion of a center differential. If you haven't seen inside this yet, we're gonna be pulling this apart in a minute because I wanna put some thicker fluid in here. They've also added these rear guards, which keeps dirt and debris off of the rear axle and rear shock. Definitely a nice thing to have. You can see they've also got those guards on the rear CVDs. Flipping this around, you can see we have the same motor, but a new updated V2 ESC. I'm really curious to see if this has a similar problem to the 150 amp version. We're definitely gonna be testing that out in this video. And in front of that, we've got a beefed up servo. That servo is connected to a new 25 tooth servo saver. It's the same design as the old one. It's just 25 tooth instead of the proprietary 23 or 24 tooth they used to use. That's really nice for when you need to upgrade your servo. We've also got some water drainage holes that didn't used to be there. And then here in the back, you can see they've updated the chassis to accommodate for that center differential. One of the most exciting changes is up here in the front. You can see they've added some reinforcement to the chassis here. This is where most of these chassis were breaking, so this reinforcement is a welcome update, and I'm really excited to see how well this holds up. Now, to go along with all the things they've added, they've actually removed something. They took the front and rear sway bars off of this car. Sway bars can really affect the handling, so I'm curious to see how this thing handles without them. I doubt that they would have done this as a cost-saving measure, although it is possible. Hopefully they did it because they think it'll be better for us, but we'll have to see how that goes when we go bash it. Let's get this center differential out, add some thicker fluid to it. I've already found an annoying thing with this new battery strap. You can't just lift this center bar up out of the way anymore. You've got to take the front off as well. They've added some stronger mounts for the motor wires. That's pretty good because the old ones didn't work very well. Was this on the previous version? Let me know down in the comments. The new battery mount certainly makes the center drive shaft harder to get out. There wasn't much room in here before, and now there's even less. I don't know why they put this O-ring on here. I think it's designed to hold this bearing in place, but have you ever had this O-ring stay in place for you on any of these vehicles? I certainly haven't. There are 2 extra screws you have to take off to get this new center differential module out that you didn't have to take out before. Here's a closer look at one of those new straps. I think this design's kind of interesting. I wonder how it's gonna hold wider batteries though. Okay, here's that new center module. They now have holes in the back that allow you to adjust mesh without taking this apart, which should be very helpful since before you kind of had to guess at what the mesh was going to be. And here's that beautiful new center differential. If you haven't seen it before, we've got a steel spur gear, and this appears to be a die-cast zinc or aluminum housing. This gasket really wants to stick to both sides, and I think it's gonna rip if I try and just pull this apart. A great tip is just to take a thin shim, put it on one side or the other of the gasket, and then carefully roll it all the way around the circumference. And that'll release the gasket from one side, so when you take it off, it doesn't rip. While I'm stuffing this in here, if you're having a good time right now, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, because we do this kind of thing here all the time. All right, we'll just jam that back together. And it feels a lot stiffer. Perfect. There we go, that should make it more stuntable. Now keep in mind, the thicker you make the center differential fluid, the more likely it is that you're gonna do wheelies and backflips, and more importantly, the less able the center differential will be to absorb shock loads and protect the drivetrain. I found that normally at 20 million, it's not a problem, but it is always a risk when you go thicker with the differential fluid. Let's go ahead and get this beautiful body reinforced. We're gonna be using this Top Tubs RC kit. This includes some foam, some edging for the body. I'm not sure we're gonna use that on this body because this body's got a lot of really intricate curves and angles, and I don't think it's gonna work very well for it. They also include some glue for that. What I'm really interested in is this reinforcement tape though. We're gonna cover the body with this, but we gotta get it stripped down first. Now the instructions don't mention cleaning the inside of the body before applying the reinforcement, but I always like to. I think it's a great idea to get your oils and dirt out of the inside. If you don't have one of these little alcohol containers, these are originally for doing nails, but they work great for this hobby. You just give it a couple pumps and it gets the paper towel wet without making a mess. Nothing really special for the instructions on applying this tape. It's just take the backing off and stick it on the body. And that's all there is to it. I'm gonna go ahead and lay the rest of the tape down off camera. All right, got the inside all covered. Kind of an interesting experience. It molds really well to the body and makes it very, very stiff. Not sure if it's gonna be as good as Gorilla Tape though. Last step is to apply some heat. The instructions recommend leaving this for 24 hours, but I wanna go bash, so let's get this back together. All right, guys, prep's all done. I've checked everything out. It all looks good. Let's put a battery in this thing and see how well it does off-road. Okay, first thing, let's see if this has the same weird issue as the 150 amp V2 ESCs. Didn't notice it there. Try again. No, I'm not feeling it. No, I don't feel any issue with that. All right, let's see how fast this thing is off-road. I suspect we're gonna be wheelie limited. Okay, got full speed there. Again. Oh! Let's try one more pass. Full speed. Oh! All right, let's bring it in. 39 miles an hour, that's not too bad. I'm sure we could get a few more miles an hour out of it on smooth concrete, but that's about what you're gonna get out of the box off-road. Okay guys, got a couple packs for this now, and first thing I want to say is this is one of the most enjoyable RC cars you can buy. This thing is just a ton of fun. That being said, we've got some good things to say about it and a few bad things. First good thing, this body is holding up very well so far. Got one little punch through there from a really bad crash, but it does appear as though this reinforcement is helpful. And given how easy it is to apply, if you want a nice, easy reinforcement, check out the Top Tubs RC body enforcement. I paid full price for this, but I do think it's a cool product. Beyond that, the electronics seem really, really good. No issues with this V2 ESC, and they've got plenty of power and speed. One great thing is that this chassis does not seem to be nearly as weak as it was before. I took a couple of really hard nose hits, and so far it's holding up great. One of those hits was so hard it messed up the front bumper pretty badly. Other than that though, the car's holding up very, very well. Haven't really had any issues with anything. I love this center differential, especially with the 20 million in it. Still plenty lively, but is able to protect the drivetrain from shock loads. What I don't like are these fancy new battery straps. First of all, this rear bracket doesn't fit wider batteries, and so you kind of have to try to hold it off one edge or the other, and then you can't push the Velcro down because it's down on the side. I just ended up bypassing this, and then of course on the front, I broke the battery strap. I'm not sure why Arrma doesn't just give us two good regular style battery straps that aren't going to break. We don't need all this fanciness, just two strong battery straps and we'll all be happy. Speaking of being happy, overall, I'm very happy with this truck. I'm impressed with the updates that have been done to it. It seems like in general, they've really been listening to people's complaints, except for these battery straps. Electronics are great. I don't see any reason to need to swap those out. That being said, let me know if you want to see me run this thing on 6S. And in the next video, after we do some torture testing on it, I'll put a 6S system in it and we'll see what this thing's really capable of. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you get subscribed and then check out this video for me.